Hello mates, so 2024 has just ended and which might have just been the best year of professional wrestling in its entire history. Now, I started rewatching WWE in 2023 and it has been a roller coaster since then. And part of the reason might be the interesting feuds and the goddamn needle moving by the feuds in 2024. And today we are gonna look at what I think were the best feuds of 2024 and rank them all the way from the 10th place to the first place on the basis of their story, build up, how important they were, and how good they were in the ring. So before we begin, don't forget that if you want to be an integral part of the STWH community, you can head over to Instagram, X and Discord. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I'm sure that you're going to adore this YouTube channel because we bring fresh wrestling content every single day. So let's dive in. Starting off on number 10, we have a feud that has given us a moment that might just be the favorite moment of 2024 for a lot of fans, and that is the feud between Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. This feud gave us the insanely unexpected moment of Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title out of nowhere on an episode of Raw, and I know some people might despise it because they use the title reign just as a prop to build up the Bloodline saga, but I don't mind it because it still gave us that moment and it was done to move the needle for the most important storyline in entire WWE. And on top of that, it gave us insanely good matches between Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. They had amazing in-ring chemistry. And I also love the promo that they cut where Braun Breaker tells Jey Uso that he is this struggling guy who has been struggling to find a singles accolade since 14 years of his career, and here he is 6 months into his main roster career winning titles and destroying main eventers. And Jey Uso, being this veteran, tells him that he's gonna dog walk his ass in their Intercontinental title match. Just had me there, and I was really hoping for Jey to win. So this feud was good, the matches were fire, and we finally had that big Jey Uso moment in 2024, which really makes me think he's gonna have a great 2025. Moving on to number 9, we have a feud that is still in the kitchen and still cooking. That is the feud between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. What makes this feud special is the fact that this is the first legitimate feud of Cody Rhodes where we all believe that Kevin Owens can take his title off of him. Because since Cody Rhodes won at WrestleMania, we all have been waiting for just the big sharks to return and grab the title off of him, like Roman Reigns and The Rock, and we never believed that AJ Styles, Logan Paul, or anyone that he has feuded with could take the title off of him. This feud has a weird dynamic of how to choose between the face and heel, because the face here, Cody Rhodes, doesn't feel like a genuine baby face because Kevin Owens has a legitimate reason to hate Cody Rhodes and go against him, because the man that tried to end the career of Kevin Owens in Roman Reigns had Cody Rhodes help him to win against Solo Sikoa at Bad Blood. So Kevin Owens isn't actually in the wrong here, and Kevin Owens isn't just a heel. He has a legitimate motive. And the way Kevin Owens tells a story, the way he builds his character, he tells us that he can fit into any mold, and he made us believe that this feud could be the first legitimate feud of Cody Rhodes and he can take the title off of him. And I still believe that he can take the title off of him in the coming Royal Rumble match that they have. And since it's a ladder match, they don't just have to make Cody Rhodes look weak or make Kevin Owens win cleanly. And if we are fantasy booking and we don't have to be logical here, I could still see Randy Orton returning at Royal Rumble and costing Cody Rhodes that title so that we can have that dream feud between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Coming up on number 8 is still a feud that is still in the kitchen and is still brewing. This feud might not be on everyone's top 10 list or even someone's top 20 list, but I believe that this feud was fire, and I'll tell you why. The feud between Chelsea Green and Michin has given my favorite women's single match of the year in the dumpster match. And this feud between the upcoming stars of the women's division might have just been the feud that made WWE believe that they need mid-card women's titles. Because in the late 2023 and the entirety of 2024, these two have proved that they can be insanely good character workers and they can give insanely good matches as well. And this feud continues to show the dynamic between that street badass in Michin going up against this self-centered, self-proclaimed queen in Chelsea Green. And their match to crown the inaugural United States Women's Champion was good as well. And the fact that these two women were involved who were the workhorses of WWE SmackDown really had the entirety of WWE Universe happy, because we would have been happy if it was either of them who was crowned the Women's Intercontinental Champion for the first time. I firmly believe that this feud has a couple of more matches in it, and we'll have Michin finally overcome the duo of Chelsea Green and Piper Niven to become the next United States Women's Champion, and I'm here for it. Next up on number 7 is a feud that is solely here because of its in-ring action, and that is the feud between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. This feud has carried the mid-card division of SmackDown for almost a quarter of a year, and they have delivered insanely good bangers after bangers, and that 7-match series was just a treat. And the series was just there to determine who was the better wrestler, who was better in ring, who could outsmart the other. And they just had to ruin it because we loathed the fact that LA Knight destroyed the 7-match series, interrupted, destroyed both guys. Sure, the triple threat match might have been the best triple threat match of the entire year in the main roster, but we just needed to complete the 7-match series and then we could have had that match later. These two men were robbed off of what they could have done in 2025 because of this feud not ending the way it should have had, because after that triple threat match for the United States title, what are the guys doing actually? And Radhe is nowhere to be seen except for a few vignettes. Carmelo Hayes is thrown in a storyline with Braun Strowman where he doesn't even belong. So yeah, in terms of needle moving, this feud might have not been just the feud that we needed on this list, but purely on how good they were in the ring, how good their in-ring chemistry was, this feud needs to be on this list. Next up on number 6, we have a feud that was really unexpectedly good, that is the feud between Sami Zayn and Gunther. Now this feud has two parts, that is the early 2024 Intercontinental title feud and the late 2024 the World Heavyweight title feud. Now, we all were despised that Sami Zayn was getting this spot at WrestleMania against Gunther because we all believed that it should have been Chad Gable and it could have been Chad Gable if they wanted to, but somehow they didn't trust him for this big stage. And Sami Zayn stepped up, and we all believed that Sami Zayn didn't belong in this feud, didn't belong at this stage going up for the Intercontinental title. And I wasn't behind Sami Zayn to win this feud until that backstage segment between Sami Zayn and his wife and Kevin Owens when he walked to the ring. I was really hyped for it back then, and they delivered one of the best matches of WrestleMania and one of the best matches of the entire year. So the in-ring action that they both had in all of their matches was expectedly good, and it had to be great because it's the ring general Gunther and Sami freaking Zayn. And I love Sami Zayn. I know you call him Sammy Hogan and he overcomes the odds when he doesn't need to. But what excites me about Sami Zayn matches is that this pinch of belief that Sami Zayn could overcome the odds every single time. And the recent match that Gunther and Sami Zayn had for the World Heavyweight title when Sami Zayn kicked out of the powerbomb at 1, I just believe that they could have still pulled the trigger on him and I would have been happy. Next up is a feud that I personally despise, but I cannot ignore the fact how important that feud is for WWE. And that is the feud between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. So I won't lie, I did enjoy this feud a few months when it started, when it had the dynamic of Liv Morgan trying to overcome Rhea Ripley. And it did have some great moments of Dominic Mysterio turning into double heel when he betrayed Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. But it did hurt the entire Raw women's division a lot because Liv Morgan couldn't have those feuds with other women when Rhea Ripley was out with injury. She still can't have a relevant feud where we believe that anyone could take the title off of Liv Morgan except for Rhea Ripley. And I'm very sure that this feud wouldn't have been on this list if it wasn't the only feud that they had in women's division for the entirety of the year on Monday Night Raw. If you can see the pattern here, we have a ton of feud that are still cooking, and next up is the feud that I believe is the most important feud going on in WWE right now. That is the feud between the OG Bloodline and New Bloodline. We can also call it Roman vs Sikoa, but we'll precisely talk about Bloodline vs Bloodline as of yet. This feud kicked off when Solo Sikoa actually took over Roman Reigns as the head of the table after Roman lost at WrestleMania to Cody Rhodes. And note that the feud is important because Jey Uso was robbed off of his IC title reign because of this feud to happen. And this feud has two matches, one in Crown Jewel when it was the Roman Reigns and the Usos versus the New Bloodline in Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. And the second match that was in the War Games between the OG Bloodline and the New Bloodline, with CM Punk siding on the OG Bloodline and Big Bronson Reed siding with the New Bloodline. The best thing that this feud has done is that it turned Solo Sikoa into this perennial main eventer that he can stay there forever, because we had Solo Sikoa pin Roman Reigns clean at the Crown Jewel match, and also the New Bloodline hasn't actually lost its aura since losing at War Games because they still are coming out every week and dominating the SmackDown roster and OG Bloodline. And this feud might actually end on the coming Raw where we can have Rock return and we can set up Roman vs Rock at WrestleMania. And I'll add that no matter how good Solo Sikoa has been at his character, he has that aura because of this beast and this werewolf Jacob Fatu by his side, who had one of the most memorable debuts where he crushed 3 of the biggest baby faces over on SmackDown, made us believe that this New Bloodline is actually a threat to the entirety of SmackDown. So I love this feud, and I love the fact that they are building Drew McIntyre's new character around this feud and making him the Bloodline bounty hunter Drew McIntyre. And I'm really excited for the match between Roman and Solo Sikoa in the coming episode of Raw and what's gonna follow up after it. Moving on, I have a feud that you might call me crazy for having this high and in my top 3 feuds of the year. I have Damian Priest versus Gunther. And this feud only off of the back of their character development and match quality ranks so high because the very first thing that this feud did was cement Damian Priest as this perennial main eventer. The championship reign of Damian Priest felt lackluster and he felt like a transitional champion because how much of a buffoonery his run as the Senior Money in the Bank was. But the fact that the rivalry he had with Gunther, the 2 matches that the world title was on the line for, the first match being between them at SummerSlam, where Damian Priest came out looking really strong and they had to make Finn Balor interfere to make Gunther win the title, which leads us to the second thing I love about this feud, and that is that it made Gunther human. Before this feud, during the Intercontinental title reign, Gunther was this machine and this ring general who was so dominant in the ring that he could beat anyone and everyone. Damian Priest for the person who made him look human. And I love the segment where they had Gunther attack Damian Priest only for Damian Priest to turn the tables and attack Gunther and have him laying down in front of himself and saying that you might be the ring general inside the ring, but on the streets I'm the king. That was the perfect Pictionary of how good this feud was. And we never had a clean 1 versus 1 match between them because Finn Balor also interrupted in their second match and was also a part of the triple threat at Saturday night's main event. So yeah, they will revisit this in future and I'm really excited for it. The 1 and 2 of this list are really obvious, and you could have made a strong case for either of them to be the top feud of 2024, but I have a bias for one of them, so I'll keep Drew McIntyre and CM Punk at number 2. Now, this was the most grudge filled, the most personal feud we had in 2024, and it had a trilogy of insanely good matches. The great match at SummerSlam, where they had Seth Rollins as a special guest referee, was good. They had great storytelling, and they had the right winner because Drew McIntyre was continually screwed up over and over again by CM Punk until this point, and he had to get the first win. And the strap match at Bash in Berlin, which felt really gimmicky at the start, but it got really good in ring, so that we were behind it. And the feud-ending match at Bad Blood, that might just be the best Hell in a Cell match ever. This rivalry had everything. It had great matches, it had great storytelling, it also had the right winner, and it ended in a way it should have, being a bloody Hell in a Cell match. Now, time for my favorite feud of the entire 2024, and you guessed it, that is The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. The Rock made us tune into every single episode of Raw and SmackDown, starting all the way at Raw Day 1 and ending at WrestleMania 40. And watching Hollywood Rock was just a treat because I wasn't there to experience it when it happened for the first time, and I feel really blessed to be a WWE fan at this period of time because those 4 months were pure cinema. The WrestleMania press conference, the build up to WrestleMania 40, and also the promos that Rock cut on SmackDown casually, and also the concert that Rock had to diss Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. It was just a great time to be alive and be a wrestling fan. And we all got the brain rots of, look at you now, Mama Rhodes, it's gonna be bloodline rules. And what followed was just amazing. You know that this feud main evented both the nights of WrestleMania, with the tag match going in on the night 1 between Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, going up against Roman Reigns and The Rock, which was not expected to go on for 50 minutes because we didn't expect Rock to be this fit and deliver a 50-minute banger. And what can we complain about? The Rock took a rock bottom on the announcer's table from Cody Rhodes, and mind you, this is the man that has limited amount of time getting beat up in his own movies, and he has contracts for that. Moving on to the night 2 WrestleMania main event, and that was just cinema. We all loved the match, and we generally remember all the spectacular things, all the spectacles that happened in the last 8 minutes of the match. But the match itself in ring was really great. The storytelling by Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes was great before every interference happened. And Cody Rhodes finishing the story and ending the reign of Roman Reigns that lasted 1316 days will go down in history as the greatest moments in WWE. So now you know why this is my favorite feud of the year. And now you can head over to the comments and tell me why you did and why you didn't like the list, and tell me what is your top 10 feuds of the year. I'll be waiting for it, and see you tomorrow.